welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're over on the YouTube account and we're continuing the conversation with the hero swap, guys. Now, if you've checked out Reddit or Discord, it is absolutely on fire. Even with the video that we put out this morning, we've gotten close to 200 comments already about some of the heroes. So I'm going to go through some of the stuff that came out from AFK Inside. I'm also going to hop back over here and just kind of go through the hero swaps, kind of what it's going to look like, my thoughts on it. And again, I've gotten an incredible amount of questions about this, which is the reason why I want to check it out. So let's head over and look at it. All right, guys, so here's what we have from AFK Inside. Shortly about the swap hero events available after 1940. We know that that is in the patch notes. The event will close after swapping. Now that takes one right off the table, guys, because once you do the hero swap, that is it. It is going to be done. A lot of players were saying it was going to be multiple heroes. Doesn't seem like that is going to be the case whatsoever. It is going to be one single swap. Again, looking at this, the event closes after swapping. So one single swap is going to go ahead and close that out. Available types of swapped, awakened to awakened heroes. That is right, guys. It is going to include everything: the Ascension tier, the signature item, the furniture, and the engraving, as well as the gear. So literally everything that you have built with these awakened heroes, it is going to swap. And again, this is kind of the interesting part. Celestials and Hypogean heroes can go to Celestials or Hypogean heroes. So it is a 1-for-1 swap. Now we don't know, I'm thinking it's going to be either one. So again, we're going to run through the heroes that I've gotten the most questions about, kind of give you my input of what I'm thinking. And then the regular 4 faction heroes can be swapped for the regular 4 faction heroes. Now again, that is kind of what we've seen. Now it also says that you cannot include any hero that has been released in 2023. So it has to be a hero that was released as of December 31st, 2022 or before. I know there's a lot of players, and again, a lot of comments that I got about this. Not a lot of players too happy that they're not including the awakened version of Belinda, but we know she was the first hero, I believe, that was released coming into 2023 for the awakened version, which you're not going to be able to swap. And I love how they kind of lay this out, guys. If you're not looking at what is swapping, this is the visual of what we can swap. Heroes that can be swapped include non-dimensional heroes released in 2022 and earlier. Non-ascended tier heroes cannot be swapped. That is right, guys. That means our Dreefs, our Saviuses, non-ascended tiers. So the heroes that cannot be ascended cannot be swapped, which is kind of a given. So cannot swap. This is going to be the interesting list, guys, because again, a lot of players that have built a couple of these heroes out or all these heroes out, they're not going to be able to swap for some of these. So the awakened version of Belinda and of course Matria are the really two big ones because they are the 2023 awakened heroes that we have seen. So you cannot swap for those. Now, in addition, guys, Tamaris, Edwin, and Crescio, of course, because they are brand new, cannot be swapped. Olgath falls into that exact same boat. But looking at these heroes, guys, Tamaris and really Belinda, Tamaris, and Matria are the 3 big ones that are seeing currently a lot of play within AFK Arena. So again, unfortunately, you cannot swap. If you have not swapped any heroes and have above 30 ascended 1-star level heroes before the event ends, you will instead receive 10,000 diamonds. I think that is in compensation if you do not do the swap when this ends, as long as you do meet those requirements. Again, I haven't heard this line right here on the bottom, but I guess coming from AFK Inside, guys, they've been spot on for probably 99% of the information that they have provided us, which I absolutely love. So now let's get into the real meat and potatoes, guys, and look at what those swaps are going to look like in the heroes that I have seen most. Again, trying to answer some of the questions that I've seen over on YouTube because I couldn't go through and comment and answer all of those. So let's check them out. All right, guys, so here we are back on the account. Now we're going to look at the heroes. I'm going to kind of break down each one and my thoughts. Again, the tier list is a little bit easier in this one because we don't have Matria and we do not have the awakened version of Belinda. So having the ability to really swap through the top tier heroes that we see. And I'm going to start with Solus, guys. Majority of players do have Soulless built, but in my opinion, she is probably one of the absolute top priorities when it comes to the Awakened Heroes because she is the support class. I don't know many formations that do not include the Awakened version of Soulless. Even every game mode, I think literally every game mode, including campaign formations, tower formations, they are running the Awakened version of Soulless, making her kind of the big priority number one. Of course, with that being said, that does not include because we cannot get Belinda and we cannot get Matria out of here. But Soulless would be my number one. Now, number two is actually tied between two heroes, guys. And the reason and the logic behind this is the Awakened version of Brutus. When you look at Brutus in his entirety and also looking at the Awakened version of Baden, again, looking at both of these heroes in their entire utility, they are used everywhere. When you look at Cursed Realm formations, when you look at the Twisted Realm formations, I know Baden is actually in a couple of them. When you look at utility within the Grand Hunt, the Temple Rift, when you look at the Abyssal Expedition, even when you look at the Treasure Scramble, both of these heroes are used in almost every single game mode. Honestly, looking at both of them, I do like, and I still do prefer Brutus just for the simple fact it is so incredibly difficult to make progression in the Mauler Tower. He is really the solid carry. Where I feel like on the flip side of it, with the Awakened version of Baden, you do have a very, very strong Greyborn combination. If you're running heroes like Kayleen, if you're running Treznar, even if you have a lower Baden, I run Legendary Baden even at the level that I'm at, and he will still do well in a lot of different formations. Literally just running him with a little tiny, a little non-build Baden still does work incredibly well. So again, the Awakened version of Soulless would be my number one, followed by either Brutus or Baden. Both of them do have a lot of utility. A lot of players are also looking at Baden just because he was a hero that was released roughly, I think it was about 6 months, 4 to 6 months after the Awakened version of Brutus. So Brutus is technically a much older hero in comparison to Baden. Now, as we continue the power creep, Baden might have a little bit more staying power just because he was a hero that was released a lot early or a lot later than what we've seen with Brutus. Now, Thane was the other question, guys. Thane is really a big driving force when it comes to the Treasure Scramble, but overall, not a lot of utility in the Twisted Realm and the Cursed Realm when it comes to the hero. I know the Abyssal Expedition we've seen some, but not really utilized a lot in the Grand Hunt. There isn't a ton of utility short of, again, the PvP aspect, the Treasure Scramble. That's your really the driving force for Thane. But again, like we said before, looking at Brutus, looking at Baden, they have a lot of utility in all of those game modes. So utility-wise, I feel like Thane would be a little bit further back, but still utilized within the Treasure Scramble. Then we would look at Taylene. Taylene, of course, very big driving force within the Celestial Tower. But as of now, guys, that is usually the only place that we are seeing her. Cursed Realm, not really utilized a lot, maybe in a sub-alt comp, depending on who you have, but used within the Treasure Scramble, not really at all. So it seems like the tower progression with the very first Awakened hero that we got is the only place that you are going to be seeing her really being built. Aziz, not even on the map, guys. There's literally no reason to build Aziz. Overall, there's not a reason. Now, that is the Awakened heroes, guys. Again, I would go Soulless. If you already have Soulless, I would go Brutus or Baden. If you have those, then I would go Thane. Then it would be Taylene. Then it would be Aziz. That would be my priority order because, again, we're losing the Awakened version of Belinda and Matria. Both of those are out within those formations. Now, looking at some of the heroes, and again, this is the other question I get, when it comes to the Celestials and the Hypogeans, most players have said it is going to be absolutely goodbye to Wukong. A ton of players do have Wukong built, and essentially, if you swap Wukong, the question was kind of raised, if I swapped Wukong, let's say I swapped Wukong right here, and I wanted to build right here, Titus, which I do not advise by any means. But if I do the swap and now I have this Elite plus Wukong, essentially I can continue buying ones from the shop. Again, in theory, I think this is how it's going to work, but I can continue buying heroes out of the shop of copies of Wukong to essentially just build them up again while I would still have my 5-star Hypogen hero. Now, Flora was the question. Between Flora and Wukong, I would keep Flora. The logic behind it is within the Celestial Tower, it is very, very difficult to produce some damage dealing heroes, and Flora actually does a considerable amount of damage in those formations, where Wukong is really just fodder, doesn't really have the survivability that we've seen in other heroes. As much as I love the skin, not really a big driving force behind Wukong, and he would be honestly probably the best one in formations to swap. Now the question comes, who do you swap him for? Overall, guys, looking at the heroes that we have here, there's a couple that really stick out to me. And again, when you look, even if you're a little bit of an earlier game, where a lot of players were saying, I might not use the swap. If you can swap and actually do not have Lucretia built up, that would be a good one to swap. But looking at having him at 5 stars, this makes me think it is either going to be a hero like Vathiel, would be a very solid choice to swap, as well as Halos. Out of these Celestials, honestly, those would probably be the biggest two. Again, super dependent on who you do have built, because if you have, let's say, Orthos built, but you don't have the original version of Taylene, I think her utility is going to go down substantially, because what we're seeing right now is Taylene is actually being taken down a tier because most players are running Matria in her place. Even if you notice in the current Cursed Realm comp, that is who is being run, guys, where the original version of Taylene is being kind of dropped out with Orthos, and the Awakened version of Matria is being put in that place. Now, looking at the rest of these heroes, guys, Athalia you can get from the shop. Ulna, relatively easy, but again, depending where you have Wukong built, because she needs the furniture to really perform well. But looking at the damage, again, within the Celestial Tower, Audrey, Vathiel, Audrey doesn't have a use outside the tower. Zafriel, not really a big use outside of the tower. Muriel, again, not a huge case scenario because she's slowly being replaced. So again, Celestials, I would go with either Vathiel or building out Orthos would be my two solid ones to build out of here. Looking at the utility and the places that you use these heroes, guys, those would be the really two big ones. And then looking in here, I like Lucretia, of course, #1 priority if you don't have her built. That is a very, very strong swap to really set that off. But if you look at Kanisa and Rook, and also Frampton, guys, both of these heroes are seeing a pretty decent use case. Zolrath you can get out of the Challenger store, which of course happens very quickly. Even Khazard, looking at some of the other heroes in here, again, not a really big driving force to build them. But if you're swapping, let's say, a fully built Wukong for a copy of Kanisa and Rook or a copy of Frampton, having these heroes built out to a very high level is super beneficial, and they're still seeing play within there. So again, when it comes to the Hypogens, I would go with Lucretia, I would go with Kanisa and Rook, and probably Frampton. Zolrath you could swap for, but again, you can get him out of the shop. Not really a big, big priority to drive and build him out. So guys, I hope that helps. Again, some of the questions that I've been getting is who would I swap for, Vathiel or Halos? Those two guys, really depends on your account. Both of them have a ton of utility in AFK Arena. Personally, I like Halos just because he is a support hero, which gives him a lot of other utility in different places, followed by Vathiel. And then over here, Lucretia would be my first one, Kanisa and Rook, and then Frampton to build them out. The regular 4 faction heroes, I wouldn't bother at all. Again, that's a very, very one-off case scenario where I know a player said today, I have a fully maxed out, 309 E80 Thorin that I'm not using. If there's not a hero, Celestial or Hypogen or Awaken that you're going to swap, that would be a pretty good swap within there. All right, guys, again, I really hope it clarified some of the swap, clarified some of the heroes to swap, because again, that was probably the absolute most questions that I got, with over 200 over on YouTube. So guys, let me know in the comments what you guys think, and as always, thank you guys for watching.